how is recruiting doing even before all the complications from COVID hit?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We did some research just recently to see what our recruiting numbers have been over the past 5 or 6 years, actually going back 7 years. And the numbers have declined, frankly, consistently since about 2014. It's the numbers of applicants have been on a steady decline from a high of about 1,700 in 2016 to a low of under 1,000 total applicants in 2019. This past recruitment that we did for the current Recruit Academy, we had a little over 1,000 applicants. So it's a noticeable decrease.
Is that particular to Tucson, or are departments across the country running into that?
I think it's sort of hit or miss, right? So it's where the job markets are hot, and so the market forces are at play. I know that just anecdotally, application numbers, total numbers of pure applications, not recruit numbers, are higher in other departments here in Arizona. They've seen an increase, whereas we've seen a little bit of a decline.
I know the police say there's a pay issue there. Is it true for fire too?
Well, I speak to that, to the market forces, right? So I think that's part of it. I think compensation can be an issue, and that's a conversation between myself and the city manager and mayor and council and labor. There's other things at play, right? People are hiring, so there's more opportunities for folks, and it also speaks to efforts at recruiting and making sure that we're doing the best job we can to advertise Tucson Fire as a attractive place to work if you want to be a fire and EMS professional.
How do you do that as a job in general and compared to some other department where they might apply?
Well, that's a great question, right? So this is an urban environment, right? Tucson's what, the 32nd, 33rd largest city in the United States, and we have our urban challenges, and those challenges are not necessarily shared by some of the surrounding fire districts and certain other municipal departments in the state of Arizona. So it takes the right kind of person to want to step into a very, very busy urban firefighting and EMS environment versus a more suburban or rural environment. That's part one. Part two of it is marketing ourselves, and that's one of my charges coming in here as the fire chief 15 months ago, was to tell our story a little better and make Tucson Fire more widely known, more available and accessible to people, and of interest to folks who are interested in this field.
Now, how did COVID affect everything?
You know, it's hard to say. I haven't, as a fire chief, heard anybody say, no, I don't want to do this job because of COVID. Because if it's not COVID, it's something else, right? We've had SARS and MERS and Ebola and these pandemic crises or near crises that have spanned over time, bird flu, and I've been in this business for close to 30 years now, and it comes and goes. So the desire to serve is what drives people. It's not what influences the service necessarily. We haven't had anybody say, nope, I don't want to do this because of the pandemic.
Now, has the desire to serve changed? I mean, sometimes people argue that we're becoming a more selfless society than a couple of generations back.
So one of the things that we impress upon our recruits, and I know my colleagues in the fire service, fellow fire chiefs across the nation impress when they come in, is that, look, it's not glamorous, it's not backdraft, right? It's not what it's portrayed to be. It is a service profession. You are serving the public, and in some cases here in Tucson, some of the most underserved communities and populations in our society, and it's not glamorous. It's not always exciting, and a lot of times it's mundane, but it speaks to a servant's heart, right? And that's what we try to impress upon people, is to draw out that sense of community and service and an understanding that it's not backdraft.
But fair to say it also has elements of stress, physical danger, health danger, all of it.
Without question. Physical stress, mental stress, social stressors, and the stressors it puts on a home life, right? The shift work schedule is not for everybody. We do have people that have come into this department and a few months into the academy decide it's not for them. And some folks, they spend a year or two in the field and they decide this isn't the right thing for me. And in some respects, I hate to see people leave, but I'd rather see somebody leave on their own terms and when they've decided it's not right for them, rather than have them linger on for 20 or 25 years and be unhappy or perhaps unhealthy mentally or physically because of it.
Now, has COVID complicated your training? I could see how, a certain amount of training is inevitably close quarters, and that's what everybody's trying to avoid.
Right. Right. So, yes is the short answer to that question. Certainly wearing the face covers whenever we're not engaged in training that would not otherwise be conducive to having face covers. Separation, we work as teams, close teams, and basically small families in the stations, right, at the shift level. So it has impacted the training and just the general lifestyle. But our staff has done an amazing job. My men and women have done an absolutely amazing job compared to some other cities in the United States with numbers of COVID and the workforce and protection of the workforce, and that speaks well to them and what they're doing both at work and at home.
Now, COVID has certainly scrambled the job market, especially jobs that require in-person presence like this.
Right.
Did that have an effect in terms of encouraging applicants because their other jobs went away, or discouraging?
I think we've seen both. So I have sat in on our past 2 hiring panels, not every single candidate certainly, but a lot of them, and heard their stories. And certainly economic factors, external to the fire and EMS service are what are driving some of our applicants to us. Some of them have prior military experience. We get applicants from other fire departments, fire districts, and then we get people who are just looking for a life change, an entirely new, a reset on their career.
But overall, things are down, and you're hoping to bring them up.
Absolutely, yeah, they are down, and the hope, and hope is not a strategy, but the plan, I will tell you, and we're putting some strategies in place to increase our recruitment numbers, both in terms of total applicants and to fill our workforce vacancies.
I think that's probably going to do it particularly in the tight confines of what we can get on the air. But is there anything you want to add? Sometimes people go, I wish you had asked me X.
I would like to encourage, especially, we love homegrown talent, right? There's nothing more that would make me happier than to see an entire recruit academy full of native Tucsonans, young men and women, or middle-aged men and women who are interested in public service through the fire and EMS service. And it's challenging work, it's hard work, and it takes its toll, but I would like for people to go to our recruitment webpage and take a look at the YouTube videos that are on there. Certainly pay attention to the segment you're doing on our incumbent Recruit Academy right now, and make a decision if it's right for them.
Are there ways that growing up in the town you serve is helpful in terms of your, I guess, enculturation and everything?
I think so. I think for folks who are native to whatever community they serve in, they're more in tune with what the community needs, they understand the community, and they're more willing to have that servant's heart for that particular community.
I think that's probably going to do it. John, unless there's anything further you want to add, John needs to get some, what I call the nodding report.